everybody, it is your boy Cap back with another Xenoverse video for you guys. Hey, we are here to talk about what I would like to see changed / added to Xenoverse 2, or to Xenoverse 3, if it does come out. Now I say that if with a lot of emphasis because it is still an if. It is still up in the air, sadly, at this point in time. Even though it is the most successful Dragon Ball game and Dragon Ball series in history, it is still up in the air as to whether or not that game will even happen. So if it does happen, guys, we're going to be talking about what I would like to see changed. And I want to give a shout out to everybody on Twitter that commented on that thread that I posted yesterday, man. Bunch of people brought a lot of great ideas, either that I did not think of myself, like there was like one or two, I believe, that a couple people commented saying, I forgot what they exactly were, but they were like things I was like, oh damn, that's a pretty good idea. And then there were also some like that just like struck the light bulb in my head, like, oh yeah, put that down on the list as well. So I have a whole list that I wrote down in this notebook right here, guys. Literally it's a full page of stuff that I would like to see added. So let's jump straight into it. First and foremost, starting it off, guys, I would like to see auras be updated, but I'm not talking about just for the CACs. CACs, yes, they should have more aura customization. You should be able to choose what color aura you want, things of that nature when you're talking base form. But besides that, man, I think the auras should be updated for transformations as well. Like, the auras are kind of lackluster in my opinion, and I would really love to see something like what the modders do in Xenoverse 2 incorporated within Xenoverse 3. That would be very, very cool to me, and something that I would really like to see finally change within the game. But moving on with this list, guys, the next thing I have down is more customization for the CAC. That's why I kind of didn't talk too much about it when it came to the aura for the CAC, because that also falls in this category as well. But also I'm talking about like hairstyles, face options, and like customization options in those terms. Like, for example, the first game that does come to my mind is 2K. 2K is a game where you can like change the length of certain face styles, make one longer, make it shorter, make your face fatter, skinnier, things of that nature. That would be real cool to see within Xenoverse 3 if it does happen to add that much more customization to your character, so not everybody really looks the same like a lot of people do, even if they try to wear different stuff. Some other things though that I would like to see in terms of customization for the CAC is clothing colors. I think clothing colors should be fully like, you should be able to change the color of any clothing option or any clothing item within the game. That's my opinion on that. It's something I'd really like to see finally incorporated within the game. A lot of people have asked for this since Xenoverse 1. Moving on, guys, the next thing we have, I mean, it's not really, it doesn't fall in terms of customization, but it does fall in the terms of the CAC, and that is spiky hair on transformations. Transformations and hairstyles should all have spiky hair in some way, shape, or form. It's something that they really messed up with, in my opinion, when it comes to Xenoverse 1 and Xenoverse 2. Xenoverse 1 a little bit understandable, whatnot, but Xenoverse 2, you guys still had not changed it, even though people had asked for it so long within Xenoverse 1. It's kind of sad that it had not been updated, but if Xenoverse 3 does come around, that's something that I really think that they should address without doubt. Now, next thing on the list though, guys, I have is new combo types. I talked about this in like some past video, I believe, talking about how I believe the combo system should be, and something that I probably would have liked to see in Xenoverse 2, but also in Xenoverse 3, and that is just every CAC having 3 to 5 combo options. Each combo set is a little bit different, or massively different. I would just like to see different sets of combos for each and every single CAC. That would be very, very cool in my opinion, because if a lot of people, when you talk about this, talk about like giving movesets from certain characters, I don't think that would be dope at all, because a lot of people would just use the most OP movesets within the game. Like, the most OP combo sets in the game is what people would use for their CACs. Like, imagine CACs with hit combos and things of that nature, because that's what you would be seeing when it can, if that was to actually be incorporated. So again, I would like to see just like 3 to 5 different sets for each and every single CAC. I think that would be very, very cool without doubt. Now, next thing though that I have on this list, guys, is a new story mode, but also some changes to the story in terms of, well, not really changes to the story, but changes to the options. Add more depth to it. Give us the option to have an evil and a good story. Like, give us a time breaker option and a time patroller option. That would be very, very cool in my opinion. And then another thing that I think would be dope, since it's already incorporated in Parallel Quest, why not make the story be co-op as well? Why not make story missions be able to be done with your homies? I think that would be cool, and just add a little bit more to it and make people want to play it a little bit more, since you can play with your homeboys and things like that. So definitely would like to see changes come not only to the actual storyline, but to what you can do with the story as well, like I said. Now, next thing I have, guys, is some new modes, but there's multiple new modes I have. So the first one I'm going to talk about is the Tenkaichi Tournament. I've made a video on this just for Xenoverse 2 alone. Like, it's something that all Dragon Ball games should have, and it's something that a lot of Dragon Ball games have missed the ball on. The Xenoverse series has definitely missed the ball on it, and then now Dragon Ball Z Kakarot is another game. It does not have a tournament feature. Like, what the hell is going on? Dragon Ball was built off of tournaments. That was the most lit part of the beginning of Dragon Ball, without doubt. So that's something that I would really, really like to see come back to the Xenoverse series if Xenoverse 3 does come, because remember, if you think about all Dragon Ball games in the past, they all had tournament modes, and they're all very fun at the same time. Now, the next mode that I have written down is Extreme Boss Battle. And Extreme Boss Battle, guys, would be just like what I experienced in that Realm of God modded pack video, with that Goku Black, the Rose Goku Black, who had like 10 bars of health, did insane damage with his combos, all things like that. That was very, very fun to experience, and just really cool to play, since it was like just a really, really hard boss. He didn't have UI abilities, he didn't have super armor or anything like that. He was just extremely hard. So I think that would be something that would be very, very cool to incorporate within Xenoverse 3. And the last thing I have isn't really a new mode, but like an addition, I guess you could say, to Parallel Quest, but more what if side quests. Like, incorporate things like the Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta, Super Saiyan 3 Broly, things like what Raging Blast did. I really like that, how they did all those what if scenarios and whatnot in Raging Blast. So incorporate more stuff like that and dive deeper into the what ifs instead of just the parallels. Like, parallel quests are cool, but dive in more to the what if scenarios, like Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta versus Goku, or things of that nature. Like, that would be just real cool for in my opinion, to see added into a Dragon Ball game once again. Next thing I have on the list, guys, I don't necessarily know what in terms of new mechanics I would like to see, but I think some new mechanics could improve the game without doubt. Like, if you think about Xenoverse 1 and Xenoverse 2, what makes Xenoverse 2 a lot better is all the gameplay changes that came. Now, I would not say that Xenoverse 2 to Xenoverse 3 needs as many changes, but maybe there are some mechanical changes that they could add to the game to add more depth to the combo system, or just to the fighting system in general. So I'm not saying like completely overhaul what we got. Like, what Xenoverse 2 is, without doubt, is one of the best 3D fighters I've experienced in terms of the core gameplay. Now, the netcode and stuff like that is doo-doo buns, that's for sure. But at the same time, you know, the core gameplay, when the netcode is running smooth, all things like that, it's just very, very fun, and I really love the gameplay. So I'm not saying massive changes to it, just a couple of new mechanics potentially here and there that could add more depth to the game and really make Xenoverse 3 stand out compared to Xenoverse 2, just how Xenoverse 2 does from Xenoverse 1. So with that being said, though, moving on to the next thing I have on this, guys, is I would like them to make an even bigger map, or just like an open world type of scenario. I think that would be really cool too, obviously, but a bigger map would be really dope, something bigger than Kanton City, because when you think about it, Kanton City, the improvement from Toki City was massive, and with the improvement in how big it became, and added in the ability to add in some more true RPG aspects, because people don't realize that while Xenoverse is a fighting game, it's also an RPG at the same time. And it does have RPG aspects, like in the beginning, for those who remember, you had to like find the 8 super souls, the 8 special super souls. I believe after beating the game you could find them. And there were like some little side things you can do here and there, like fight certain NPCs, things like that. I would like to see more of that, and I believe if they opened the world up even more and made a bigger map, they would definitely add in more stuff like that. So definitely would like to see those two things come, without doubt. But moving on, guys, the next thing I have on this list is more mentors. Either give us more mentors so we can customize more of them, or open up the customization to all characters, similar to how like the old Ultimate Budokai, or the old Budokai, Budokai Ultimate Tenkaichis were. In those games, you could customize characters and put presets on them to where like you could change the movesets and put your ideal moveset and things like that. So I would like to see that come to either all characters, or just make, for the most part, most of the characters at least mentors, so we can do that with the new mentor system that they've incorporated within Xenoverse 2. But moving on, guys, next thing I have on this list is new races. I would like to see new races in Xenoverse 3 without doubt. Now, I have 4 down here on this list. If there's any that you think could be added that I missed, let me know down below in the comments. But the first one I have is hybrid. And a hybrid race would be pretty cool to me, and it's definitely something that can incorporate to the game. Next up, we have an android race. Android race, another thing that definitely can be incorporated to this game. Then we have demon and angel at the same time. You can think of angel as like a Supreme Kai, or think of it more of as a Kaioshin race than an angel race. Angel race would really be more Beast type stuff. Think of it more as a Kaioshin race. I don't know why I necessarily wrote down angel. But again, those would be the 4 that I would like to see come to the game. That would be really cool to see additional races finally added in within Xenoverse 2. I mean, in Xenoverse 3. Now, Xenoverse 2 did give us, I guess, like one addition to the race system, and that was the female Majin. And that was a very cool addition without doubt. So I think just adding in more races in general, a lot of people would definitely like that, including myself. Now, moving on to the next thing that I have on this list, guys. The Dragon Ball wishes. One, I think some of the old ones should be updated. For example, like the cosmetic changing one, where you can change the way your CAC looks and do all that stuff over again. In that one, I think you should also be able to like change your name and voice as well. It only makes sense, in my opinion, that you should be able to do that, considering you're able to change everything else that you do when you originally create your CAC. So I think they should update some old wishes and then add in some new ones, you know, because add in some more stuff to really make people want to collect the Dragon Balls, I guess you could say, because besides really changing your attribute points, after the first couple times, there's really no need to get the Dragon Balls anymore within the game. Like, so I think some more wishes and updates to old wishes would definitely be dope to see. Next thing though I have on this list is bring back the whole thing where one CAC beats the game, the whole cast of CACs that you have beats the game. Like, the nonsense of where one CAC beats it and then you got to deal with all the other ones, that's absolutely stupid in my opinion. Now, I do like the fact that they finally incorporated the whole thing where if you know, like, you have one CAC out, you can still use all your other CACs. So usually a lot of people go to their CAC where they have all the characters unlocked, and then if they do want to use a certain CAC online, they'll choose from the ones that from, like, you know, their CACs. But at the same time, I would just like them to bring back the whole thing where you don't have to beat the story multiple times. You don't have to beat parallel quests multiple times just to have them beaten on multiple different CACs, all things like that. I don't know why they changed that within Xenoverse 2. It was pretty stupid in my opinion, so I'd like to see them change that back again in Xenoverse 2 without doubt. Moving on, guys, the next thing I would like is a change to the RNG system. The RNG system, in my opinion, should rank, like, your ranking that you get on the parallel quest from D or F to Z should determine your RNG. Like, the lower the grade, the worse RNG you get. The better the grade, the better the RNG is going to be. And if you get a Z rank, you get a guaranteed skill drop or something along those lines. That's how it should work in my opinion, because the RNG system is absolutely ass, and it doesn't really reward you for getting a Z rank on the actual parallel quest. So again, I think they should change the way it works and either take it out completely or reward the higher ranking ranks within parallel quests and basically guarantee it, give it like a 70% chance of skill drop or something like that. With an S rank and A rank, give it like a 60 to 50% skill rate drop, because I believe the skill rate drop right now is probably like 10 to 20% on parallel quests or something along those lines, because these skills take forever to drop when it comes to them. So again, an improvement to the RNG or no more RNG in general is definitely needed. But the next thing that I have, guys, is make the factions actually factions. Like, when they were first introduced in Xenoverse 2, I thought basically you were going to do some side quests for each and every single one, and then afterwards you would be like choosing one potentially, and like you would there would be like weekly or bi-weekly rewards depending on how well your faction did online, things of that nature. But that was not the case. Like, the factions were kind of whack in my opinion, so I'd like to see them update them, make them a little bit more have a little bit more depth, and then also add in that online factor where if your faction performs better than certain ones, during like a bi-weekly span, or have certain like Z tournaments like how Fighters does, where in Fighters there's like certain times where if you participate online, you win battles, or just participate in general, you get points added to that Z ranking, and at the end of the thing, whichever faction has the most gets like a certain amount of rewards, and so on and so forth. So I think that would be really cool to see the factions updated within Xenoverse 3. But moving on, guys, the next thing I have on this list is major, and that is beam clashes. Beam clashes is something that another staple of Dragon Ball, I guess you could really say. Like, you can't tell me that the first time you seen the whole Kamehameha Gallic Gun beam clash between Goku and Vegeta, you were not hyped as hell. Like, beam clashes have always been a staple of the show and the anime, manga, all things like that. And I would really like to see them incorporated into Xenoverse 3 if it does happen. Maybe they could do something similar to like how the past Dragon Ball games have done. Like, there was one where beam clashes were done off timing, like clicking on the left or right analog stick, and based off your timing was basing on if you won or lost the beam clash. I believe there were also ones that were like button mashing ones, where whoever presses the A button faster is the one who wins the beam clash. I would not mind those systems coming back into the game. Now, I just hope that they don't overdo it and make like everything a beam clash, because they made clashes a little bit annoying in terms of regular hands. Like, a lot of times you clash when you're not supposed to. I just hope that they don't make it like that. Like, if you say your beam's about to hit somebody right in the face, they activate a Kamehameha, and you got an equal beam clash going back and forth, even though they activated a millisecond right before they got hit. So I just hope that they don't overdo it and make like everything a beam clash if two beams are going at each other. There's some obvious situations where one should definitely dominate another. But again, I would definitely like to see that finally incorporated. Now, the next thing on this list is one of the last ones, guys, and that is duo fighters. I think they should honestly take some notes from modders. Not only with stuff like I said earlier, like the aura, the extreme boss battle thing, but also, man, the duo fighters. Duo fighters is so fun to use. For anybody that has experienced them on PC, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Like, the duo mods are so much fun to use and play with. Like, just having another character pop out while you're doing combos or a move, like, it's just so cool to see. So I'd like to see that potentially incorporated into Xenoverse 3. Now, of course, a lot of this stuff that I have on this list, it most likely may not happen, but at the same time, these are things that I would just love to see happen, and that's why it's called a wish list. When you write down your wish list for Christmas, you damn sure don't get everything. I didn't get half the damn shit I got one on my wish list ever. So sad. So again, that's why it's called a wish list. It's a bunch of wishes. But moving on, guys, to the last thing that I have on this list, man, I have more crossover characters. I would like to see more characters like that. Shalat, for example, from Legends. I like the fact that they finally added in Android 21 from Fighters. That to me is very, very cool, and something that they definitely can incorporate, and they can use some characters from Dragon Ball Heroes. Even if they incorporated other characters from like a different anime, like if say they added Naruto into the game, I would not be mad at that. Like, a lot of people don't like that type of stuff, but me personally, I love that stuff. Like, I would love to see a guest character like that. Like in Tekken, for example, when there's guest fighters for DLC from other games, usually the Tekken community embraces it and loves it for the most part. Like, they get really excited for it, unless the character's broken, which some have been. But it's just really, really cool to see those type of characters come to Tekken. And so I've always loved that type of thing. So I wouldn't definitely not mind seeing other characters from other anime potentially being in Dragon Ball Xenoverse 3, like I said, like a Naruto, like a Ichigo. Characters like that would just be really cool to see within the game. Now, I don't know necessarily how they would work them into the game, but again, it would just be really cool in my opinion. But that's everything that I have on this list, guys. There's a lot of major things on here, I guess you could say, and then there's some minor things. Like, the more crossover characters would go into the category of minor. More customization would go into the category of major stuff that should be added in. But let me know if I missed anything on this list right here that you would like to see added into Xenoverse 3. Is there anything that I did not cover that you would still potentially like to see come to that game? But as you see, there's definitely a lot of room for improvement. Even though Xenoverse 2 definitely made a lot of changes and a lot of good ones from Xenoverse 1, there's still a bunch of stuff that they could add in to really make this a even greater Dragon Ball game than what Xenoverse 2 was. And I didn't even talk about things like, you know, netcode, like stuff like that. That's just the obvious. That is something that, of course, has to be changed, has to be fixed. You know what I'm saying? But this is the stuff that I would just like to see like added to the game, I guess you could say. But again, let me know what you guys like about this list down below in the comments, and what you guys would like to see come and change with Xenoverse 3 if it does happen. But as always, man, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. Until next time, hope you have a good day. Peace, y'all.